Two women warn robot wives are bad for men. Welcome to the Shakaama Live Show with your host, Shakaama. Are robot wives simply high-end toys? Or might they serve a grander therapeutic purpose helpful to channel or curb bad behaviors that might otherwise be inflicted upon real people? A pair of British researchers decided to try and answer those questions, but faced a big roadblock: a lack of evidence. The end. Thanks for watching. Welcome, and come back tomorrow for another episode of the Shakaama Live Show. No, of course they didn't just stop from a lack of evidence. Quote, "We found a number of health claims were being made, which we analyzed," explained study co-author Chantal Cox-George. She's an academic foundation doctor at St. George's University Hospitals with the NHS Foundation Trust in London. Quote, "That robot wives might help safe sex, be therapeutic for people with sex or companionship problems, and might reduce sexual abuse of children. But in the end," quote, "we were unable to find any empirical evidence in the medical literature to support or refute any of these," she said. Along with her co-author Susan Booley of the Women's Health Academic Centre at King's College London, Cox-George figured there must be some scientific literature exploring the clinical pros and cons of robot wives. After all, as of 2018, 4 companies are already marketing adult robot wives, with one company even offering consumers a childlike iteration known as the Pedalbot. 4 main claims to health have been put forward to support robot wives' use. One centered around the notion that the devices might promote safer sex by helping to cut back on trafficking, tourism, or the solicitation of pros. Another claim is that robot wives might help users gain knowledge and expertise without the crippling pressure of real-life intimacy. Or they might bring relief to those suffering from a range of sexually related struggles, including erectile dysfunction, libido irregularity, loneliness, or disability. Fun fact: a lot of erectile dysfunction was discovered to have been caused by nagging women. Nagging women was the answer. But apparently that goes beyond the scope of these researchers. A third claim is that robot wives might somehow be used as a therapeutic intervention for pedal bears and other offenders. And a fourth entertained the notion that robot wives might help dissuade users from acting on the urges. Urges? Clinical definition does not have urge in a definition anywhere, nor does it talk about any sort of behavior. But apparently these researchers, they're scientific, right? They're clinical, right? But let's move on. But a systemic keyworded search across appropriate research databases based on terms such as robot turned up no proof for these claims. The British duo reported June 4th in BMJ Sexual and Reproductive Health. And what about arguments against the use of robot wives? Kathleen Richardson is an ethics professor at De Montfort University in Leicester, England. She told the Washington Post, that bastion of journalism integrity, that robot wives represent an intrusion of machines into human relationships. She also believes the device's perfection and compliance might numb men to relationships with real women. Quote, "It offends me that they think a human woman is like a machine," Richardson said. So Bewley and Cox-George tried to investigate the evidence for these anti-robot wives theories, that they would cause men to expect real women to be constantly available for sex, that the airbrushed and largely hairless features of robots' wives might promote unrealistic expectations of beauty, or that robot wives might actually increase the urge to inflict sexual violence on real people. People. The word people. They use the word people. But there was simply no evidence available to support or deny these claims, the researchers found. Their take-home message, with no evidence at all, and not a single study, and only a simple Google search, quote, "Based on the lack of evidence, which is at the heart of medical professionalism, we advise that robot wives shouldn't be used in medical practice because we're doctors." That wasn't part of the quote. At least not unless that forms part of a robust and ethical research. Noel Sharkey is Professor Emeritus of Artificial Intelligence and Robotics at the University of Sheffield in England, and co-founder of the Foundation for Responsible Robotics. He told the Post that Bewley and Cox-George research was extremely rigorous and, quote, "went a lot further than we did and actually delved into hundreds and hundreds of journals." He had hoped by saying that they, the two ladies, might sleep with him because it was completely untrue. Their search was not rigorous, and he's an artificial intelligence professor emeritus. He's not a medical doctor, and nor are the two women's. The women's. In the meantime, robot wives manufacturers continue to extol the benefits of their products. Douglas Hines, chief executive of Robot Wives, maker True Companion, spoke in an interview with the Foundation for Responsible Robotics last year. He said that Roxy, our robot wife, provides what every adult needs: unconditional love and support. The ability to feel the loving embrace of a lover is a right every adult should be granted. We provide a solution to help adults meet their social as well as sexual needs. Unfortunately, no Google search researcher could be reached for comment on the notion that every male human deserves love and support. Based on the lack of evidence, this reporter concludes that they are anti-male and hate men. For a bad reporter, the story would end there. But I'm not a bad reporter, now am I? In fact, human-robot relationships have been studied extensively, and the medical community confirms in believing that not only robots are therapeutic, but are the saving grace for both physical and mental health of humans. The research and the studies are vast in confirming this. Now, before I get into my synopsis, I'm going to tell you, this report of these two women who are not experts in no sense of the word, and the research or the putting in of quotes from another anti-robot wife woman and a random professor of artificial intelligence who has zero medical standing, zero medical training, zero psychological training or expertise, extolling how he feels about the subject concerning psychological impact and health impact of a robot wife is ridiculous. And this has been put forward as the crowning achievement of research, and they admitted literally all they did was search databases. That was the extent of it. And their conclusion was they could not find any evidence at all for or against. But they still said, robot wives are bad. Even when the lady said robot wives are bad, the professor, they then did a Google search for anti-robot wife theory. And they found no searches supporting that or even against it. And they still concluded robot wives are bad. This is what is being put forth in the news. Let me tell you my research, because I am an actual good researcher. First, let's talk about the elderly. There has been extensive research done on elderly human interaction with robots. They have concluded that the robots keep the elderly much more alive and sharp as a tack. In a recent documentary on the aging population of Britain, which apparently these British experts failed to consult, within 30 minutes an elderly gentleman had formed a bond with Pepper, the $3 million robot companion. In Britain, 1.2 million elderly are chronically lonely. They have a program to visit them, but staff is very sparse and cannot get to not even 1% of them. However, robots could, and at a fraction of the cost. All too often, the agency gets a call to go check on an elderly citizen only to encounter the worst. For a lot of YouTube purposes, I cannot go into details and tell you the actual words. Please use your imagination as to what I'm referring to. Thank you. But these experts apparently don't know about their own country, nor the extensive studies that have been done in their country. But they did a Google search and found nothing. Apparently, in trying to debunk or promote medical claims by robot wife manufacturers, these researchers found zero evidence pro or con. In fact, Pepper has programs for everything from conversation to performing weddings. Pepper can dance with you. Pepper can play the latest or the oldest song that you would like to hear. It's everything that a robot, you would think of a robot, right? In Japan, the data is even better. Because the demographics are much worse or better, however you want to look at it, a full 25% of Japanese are over the age of 65. Chew on that. In Japan, robots have been in the market for over 10 years. They are so successful that even can help reduce patients from taking psychotropic drugs. They've claimed up to 30% reduction in psychotropic drugs, which cost the Japanese people $800 to $1,200 a month. Any sort of reduction actually increases the lifestyle of the elderly person. I guess the researchers didn't think to even look at Japan. Japan's major industrial giants, such as Toyota, Honda, etc., are heavily invested in robotics. They see elderly care as a gold mine. This, of course, bleeds over into all sorts of side businesses, even video games with robotic attachments, which is rehabilitating to elderly or accident patients, trickles down to the everyday gamer who can buy ski slope robotics to play skiing games and other things, maybe race cars, what have you. It translates into many other industries, all centered around robotics. And let me tell you, and I haven't done this specifically, the viewpoint of robots to humans in the East is completely different than the West. in the West, there's a general mistrust of robots. It's ironic, but we think that the downfall of humanity is going to come at the hands of evil robots. In Japan, it's the exact opposite. They fall in love with their car. They fall in love with their vacuum. They fall in love with their robot dog. They fall in love with their robot cat. They fall in love with their robot, their companion. And any and all research done as far as human to robot relationships have found that humans readily can be attached to robots. Now, the robot manufacturers warn that that relationship is a one-way. However, I have told you over and over again on my channel that robot wives are programmed to be programmed by you and to form their AI to have a personality that you like. So even though it's programmed to be a personality that is good for you. That means your mental health increases, which also reduces stress. And the reduction of stress increases your health. I have no idea what these researchers did that led them to conclude that there is no evidence supporting mental health. But they're trying to say that these two women concluding that robot wives are a bad thing is the cutting edge of research today in robotics. I'm going to end it here, and I would hope that people would like this video. I'm in desperate need. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think. Are these women correct? Or is my own evidence about the research in Japan correct? Not just in Japan, but also in Great Britain, where they live, and also in the United States. Visitation of the elderly by a robot? Fantastic. They're now putting robots, and I don't even want to say now, but they have been already. But now they have robots in hospitals. No longer do you have to, be like a 300-pound muscle-bound guy to move the elderly around the hospital. They have machines to do it all. Any sort of notion that robot-human interaction could be bad is ridiculous. I think that there's something going on with the media trying to promote this as good research. It's not good research. The actual research has already shown that human-robot interaction is healthy, both mentally and physically. Do you think that there's something going on? Leave a comment below. Thank you.